Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Like to seek the blessings of Radha Damodara, Radha Shyamsundar, Radha Madhav, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Gauritai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So we continue the Damodara Leela. This is a verse from Bhagavatam 10, Canto 11, Chapter 6th verse.
Lukalam vikashit shantam damna padam swam atmajam vilokyananda prahasad vadano vimumochaha. Translation: when Nand Maharaj saw his own son bound with ropes to the wooden mortar and dragging it, he smiled and released Krishna from his bonds.
So, with the demigods now gone. So where we were, the demigods were released from the curse of Narad by Krishna, and they were released by Krishna to go back to the heavenly planets because Krishna had much more important things to do, which was to play with the cowherd boys. With the demigods gone, Krishna was now free to resume his role as cowherd boy. He longed for his friends. Standing up to better see over the fallen branches, he caught sight of them in the distance and signaled to them to come and play with him. So if we recall before, the boys were not free. There was a bond, or invisible bond, which is holding them from coming to Krishna. But now they were free from this bond, and they were reunited with their glorious friend, embracing him. This is a very nice painting. They didn't know whether to cheer Krishna or to caution him. Wait till your
mother sees your latest antics, and you think the mortar punishment was bad? She'll tie you to these other trees and make you stay here overnight.
The boys laughed at Krishna. However, Krishna crossed his arms and said in defiance, I can pull mountains if I want to. Of course, the boys laughed. Well, he does later on do that, doesn't he? Raising his voice, he said, wait and see. Not only when I move a mountain, will I move a mountain, but I'll also lift it. You wait and see. Sridham said,
we will wait for that day, but now tell us, who are those two beings you're talking to?
The boys had seen what happened the boys had seen what happened. However, Krishna tried to downplay his role in toppling the trees. These boys could never hold a secret. So Krishna said, there were spirits living in the tree who broke out of the trees when their curse finished. The Gopas were not convinced, but Krishna changed the subject and started playing with the mortar, a new game. In the meantime, the Bijbasis looked around to see what could have caused such a terrible noise. Sounded like thunder, but the sky was clear. They'd all fainted when the trees fell because the noise from the cracking of the trees and then the felling of the trees was tremendous. Some gopis visiting from Raval came across Krishna and his friends. I think that must be the elderly gopas actually. They came across Krishna and his friends playing amongst the fallen trees, and they reported this to Yashoda Mai. Oh, it must be gopis actually. She thought trees had fallen on Krishna. She had fainted out of great anxiety. In her faint, mother was in a panic and was running towards Krishna to rescue him. But actually the ladies were trying to revive her. So she was dreaming that she was running towards Krishna, but actually she was being revived. In the meantime, Nanda Maharaj had arrived with Rohini and Balaram. Nanda Baba quickly headed towards the scene of the calamity. Perhaps a demon has attacked Krishna. Again, the Gopas took sticks as weapons. Some of the boys noticed the cowherd men coming and they warned Krishna.
You're in real trouble now.
Krishna told the boys to hide. The boys were giggling and with Krishna having great fun in this adventure. The cowherd men looked for Krishna, but not seeing him, they looked for demons or signs of demons, like footprints, but found nothing. At that time, Yashodamai and her friends arrived, and she was frantic with worry. It is said that the force of the devotee's pure ecstasy can reach such heights as to neutralize Krishna's divinity. With his mother present, Krishna was unable to remain hidden. He whispered to his friends, "Let us surprise them before they discover us." So Krishna and his friends started playing with mortar in the open. And when the Brijbasis saw them safe, they were elated.
How did he appear so suddenly, especially as he was still struggling with the mortar?
At first, the Brijbasis could not make the connection between Krishna, the mortar, the trees. However, Yashodamai recognized the relationship between the three, and she thought to herself,
what if the trees had fallen on Krishna?
She was speechless and immobile. When her husband and the others rushed to Krishna, Yashodamai remained where she was, fighting to see through her tears. Meanwhile, they worked out that the mortar was the cause of the toppling of the trees. They were perplexed, especially as Krishna was still tied to the mortar. They said to each other,
Krishna could have been crushed and killed. No doubt Lord Narayan has protected him once again.
Nand Baba was contemplating how these two powerful trees snapped at their base like twigs. His brother Nanda suggested, as the children were with Krishna all along, they may know what happened. The Brijbasis looked at the children, who were just as perplexed as the adults. But unlike the adults, the boys were not bewildered by the mystery of who felled the trees, but by the sweetness of Damodara. So their bewilderment was at Krishna. Amazing. How did this boy do this? How did our friend do this? They knew he did remarkable things. So they spoke up.
It was Krishna. He did it.
And they shared the pastime. Krishna was dragging the mortar between the two trees, which then crashed to the ground, and the demigods coming out of the trees, praying to Krishna, then leaving, flying to heaven. The men would not believe the children. I mean, who would believe them? But at least it was some kind of explanation. After the friends' disclosure of the truth of events, Krishna was a little concerned that the men may give thought to his superhuman powers and show reverence towards him. To offset such a possibility, Krishna applied his talents to childhood play tugging at the mortar, making grunting sounds and showing irritation and not being able to easily move it. Observing Krishna's activities, the men said to each other,
what fertile imagination these boys have. What stories will they not make up to glorify their friend?
Nand Baba moved closer to his son. This was his first entrance into the Leela. Krishna was a little reserved, fearing further punishment. Nand Baba's first concern was for his son's well-being. Seeing the boy playing with his new toy, the mortar, Nand Baba inferred that Krishna was unhurt. Affectionately running his hands over Krishna's every limb, he confirmed that his son was unscathed. When Krishna moved the mortar a little, his chest swelled with pride at his extraordinary son. Although he had no doubt about the extent of his wife's love for their son, Nand Baba was surprised at the punishment that his wife had imposed on Krishna, firstly binding him and then leaving him alone without thinking of the dangerous consequences. That was negligence. However, more than anyone else, he understood and revered Yashodamai as the perfect mother. In their parenting, she was stricter, and he was a permissive, doting father. To encourage Krishna, Nand Baba smiled at him to reassure him. His father's reassuring countenance eased Krishna's mind, and he smiled widely in return. His father was not upset, even though he had been so naughty. Casting a mildly reproaching glance at his wife, Nanda Baba leaned over the mortar to untie his son. But before doing so, he looked back at Yashodamai as if to ask, may I? Except for Yashodamai, no yogi, no jnani, bhakta, however competent, had authority to bind the Supreme Lord to a mortar. And only one was her who was her equal, Nanda Baba, was qualified to free Krishna from the chains. And even then, only with her permission. Yashodamai replied with a faint but anxious smile, yes. With this empowerment, Nanda Baba first untied the rope, binding the mortar. Then he turned to Krishna and untied the rope from Krishna's waist, repeatedly chanting, Govinda Damodara Madhav, Govinda Damodara Madhav. So this is Nanda Baba giving him a hug. With Krishna free and embracing him, smelling his head and covering his cheeks with kisses. As the rope that bound Krishna's belly fell to the ground, it manifests its full length, which was the aggregate of all the churning ropes and cow ropes in Gokul. Nanda Baba was so absorbed in the ecstasy of loving his son to notice. Even if he had, he would have simply shrugged off the marvel as one of the great mystical events that followed his great son. In the spirit of a mistreated child, he started to cry. Krishna started to cry. And tearfully, he reached his arms towards his father. Bending low, he lifted his son, held him close to his chest, and he said,
"Oh son, where is the evil-minded person who tied you to this mortar?"
Krishna leaned towards father's cheek and wrapped his arms around his neck, speaking into his father's ear, but loud enough for others to hear. He replied, "Father, it was mother who did it." Nanda Baba's eyes found his wife, who was now trying to hide behind her friends.
"That cannot be, son. You must be mistaken."
"No, father, she did it. You can ask any of the others. They were there too." Nanda Baba turned to the other ladies, but they all lowered their faces or covered their eyes with their veils. The king was upset that his son had been placed in jeopardy. He knew that Yashodamai will regret her conduct, and no words of reprimand from him will match her self-censure. He knew the depth of her love for her son and how much pain that love must be causing her. So he did not chastise his wife. The young boys closed around to comfort Krishna and confirm Krishna's words, Nanda Baba, and told him what had happened, adding to what they had said before.
When Krishna went between the two trees, the mortar got stuck sideways, and the trees fell with a crash. The trees fell sideways and never touched Krishna, not even a leaf.
Smiling as if he believed the boys, Nanda Baba remained doubtful.
These boys go on, the stories they dream up.
Then the Brijabasis came to reassure Krishna that his ordeal was over. First came the men, then the women. They caressed Krishna, smelled his head, offered words of comfort, and they joined together in Sankirtan of Krishna's pastimes as the Brahmins recited Vedic hymns. The only ones who did not come were Yashodamai and her friends. Yashodamai stood behind the trees watching the proceedings. Too ashamed to remain, she, assisted by her friends, returned to the palace, covering her tear-stricken face with her veil. At the moment that Yashodamai reached the palace gates, Rohini Devi and Balaram arrived from Sahara. Yashodamai embraced Rohini, crying uncontrollably. News of the fallen trees had already reached them. However, Rohini did not expect this. Why was Yashoda so distraught? She turned to Balaram and asked him to bring his brother to the palace. She knew that Yashodamai's sorrow can be cured by the embrace of Krishna. Handsome Balaram ran down the hill. He was looking for the legendary Arjun trees.
Where are they?
In the meantime, Yashodamai was inconsolable. Only when the joyful Brijabasis entered the palace with Krishna was she able to compose herself enough to go to her apartment and lock herself in. Nanda Baba wanted to purify his son from the day's misfortune and decided on a bath in the Yamuna. As they walked hand in hand to the river, Balaram caught up with them and embraced Krishna. He asked Krishna a barrage of questions.
What is this new name you have? Why did mother tie you up? Did you really pull down those trees?
Krishna was reserved. Just when he needed his brother the most, he wasn't there. He felt abandoned and would not respond in his usual affable self. Balaram was taken aback by Krishna's sulky mood, but a wink from Nanda Baba told him to be patient. The three of them went to Rajghat, accompanied by singing Brijabasis and mantra-chanting Brahmins. After bathing and performing purificatory ceremonies in the Ghat, Krishna and Balaram distributed gifts to all those who were present. After this, they went back to the palace, wondering if there would be any dinner. Remember now, Krishna had by now missed several meals. Of course, dinner was ready. Rohini reminded Yashodamai that her son had not eaten since morning. And even then, there was an unfinished meal. Sad and embarrassed as she was, Yashodamai immediately set about the task of organizing dinner. She guided her maidservants and friends to the palace kitchen and cooked herself. Meanwhile, Rohini Devi set the table in the grand dining hall, presuming there will be many guests for dinner. After the meal was prepared, Yashodamai again felt the weight of guilt and retired to her own chambers, which she locked. Even a moment seemed like a lifetime to Yashodamai. This is similar to the gopis who sing in the Gopi Git that even a moment away from Krishna is like years and years. So Yashodamai was waiting until fate would again reunite her with Krishna. As dinner was ready, Nand Baba and his sons, together with the guests, entered the dining hall and were happily discussing the day's events. In the meantime, Yashodamai remained seated on the edge of her bed, staring at the door, waiting for Krishna to open it, but he did not. After dinner, Nanda Baba took Krishna and Balaram to the cowshed to oversee the milking of the cows. There was especially a beautiful white cow which Nanda Baba would personally milk. Today, he showed the two boys how to milk this majestic cow. He filled a bucket of milk from her, then gave milk to the two boys and also to Krishna's friends who were with him. Today is Diwali, and there was to be an evening of festivities. But Nand Baba decided it was wiser to resolve the conflict between mother and son rather than attend the festivities. They headed back to the palace. The ladies informed that Yashodamai had not eaten, nor was speaking to anyone, and was feeling very sad. She was, of course, sad for tying up Krishna, but her sorrow increased 1,000-fold by her son's neglect of her. Nand Baba embraced his son and placed him on his lap, putting the question to Krishna.
Dear boy, these ladies say that your mother is very sad. Will you go and appease her like a dutiful son?
Krishna looked up at his father and replied assertively, "No, I will not. From now on, I will always remain with you, father." The ladies asked Krishna,
If you do not go to your mother, whose breast will you suckle?
Krishna was ready with an answer. "I'm a big boy now. I will drink warm milk from the white monarch of my father's cow. Just like I did today."
Then with whom will you play? Who can entertain you in those ways in which your mother is most apt?
My father. I will play with my father. He's the empress of all gamesters, and I will play with Balaram as well. Krishna had forgiven Balaram because Balaram related to him that he was forced to go with mother. And if he had stayed behind, Yashodamai would not have been able to tie him. He was, of course, overestimating his power in relation to Yashodamai's love for Krishna. There was no contest.
What about your brother's mother, Rohini Devi? Will you go to her?
I will not go to her either. She abandoned me, as a result of which I was shackled all day. When Rohini heard this from Krishna, tears welled up in her eyes. She loved Krishna even more than Balaram. Searching for some way to uproot his stubbornness, she appealed to Krishna's love for his mother.
Oh, my son, how can you be so heartless and cause your mother such pain? Even Dhruva Maharaj forgave his stepmother, as did Lord Ram. Why can you not find it in your heart to do so?
The authority of his father's support fueled Krishna's huff. Turning from Rohini Devi to Nanda Baba, Krishna buried his face in his father's loving arms. Nanda Baba embraced Krishna tightly, but he could sense that the boy still longed for his mother, for the sanctuary of his mother's tender warmth and love. For Krishna, there was no embrace like that of Yashodamai. Even though he was certainly enjoying these rare tender moments with his darling son, being free of any trace of envy, Nanda Baba devised a plan to conjure up Krishna's suppressed affection for his mother. Holding Krishna at arm's length and in a tone of royal proclamation, Nand Baba raised a slightly threatening hand and said,
Son, say the word and I'll give that woman a suitable thrashing. As king of Raj, I cannot tolerate injustice. If sin is perpetrated by one of my own family, I must act on it, lodge a complaint, and then just see what I will do.
Nand Baba's strategy worked like a charm. The very thought of anyone striking his mother obliterated Krishna's huff and brought tears to his eyes. Getting hold of Nand Baba's threatening hand, Krishna shouted, "No, no, you cannot." As a perfect strategist, the monarch unfolded the second phase of the scheme, appearing to ponder Yashoda Mai's past conduct and her present isolation. Nand Baba said,
"You're right, my son. Someone who put another in mortal danger should not be surprised if fate metes out the same punishment to them."
The ladies of the court gasped. Again, Krishna called out, "No, that cannot be, never." Krishna was finally unable to tolerate separation from his mother, jumping off his father's lap, which delighted Nand Baba, and frantically cried, "Where is my mother? I have to go there. Where is she?" Krishna ran to Rohini for shelter, repeatedly crying, "Where is mother? Where is mother?" Rohini comforted the boy, and embracing him, reassured him.
"Do not fret. Come with me. I'll take you to your mother."
After what seemed like eternity, Yashoda Mai saw her door open cautiously and silently. Only Rohini Devi and Krishna were so bold. It was both. As soon as Krishna saw his mother, through his tears, Krishna ran, weeping to Yashoda Mai, climbing onto her lap and wrapping his arms around her neck. The aggregate of all the happiness in the world, when multiplied 1,000,000 times, could not match a drop of the ecstasy that Yashoda Mai felt with Krishna in her arms. And similarly, if the aggregate of all the love in the world was multiplied 1,000,000 times, it could not match a drop of the love that Krishna felt from Yashoda Mai's embrace. Mother and son reunited, holding each other's heart to heart. They both felt complete, for each was a half of the whole that was their union. Rohini Devi reminds Yashoda Mai that Krishna must still be hungry, as he had missed several meals. When Yashoda Mai heard the words, "Will you not feed your son?" she immediately came to external consciousness. Like a dutiful mother, she pleased Krishna with her breast milk. Rohini Devi had the dining table set by maidservants in the privacy of Yashoda Mai's quarters and said to Yashoda Mai,
"Now you must dine with your son, for he has been picking at his dinner without your presence."
Hearing these words, Yashoda Mai finally rose to her feet with Krishna still in her arms and took a seat at the table. Balaram also came rushing to Yashoda Mai, and the queen embraced him with her free arm. For each morsel that Krishna ate from her blessed hand, Yashoda Mai would eat an equal amount. Krishna, "Mother, eat more."
"If you eat more, I will match you."
Krishna was now won over. However, Yashoda Mai could hardly face her husband. She also feared the censure of the villagers. However, right now, those fears had to be put aside in order to serve Krishna. Krishna was tired. Balaram and Rohini took their leave, and Yashoda Mai lovingly held Krishna in her arms for some time. Then she placed him in the same bed from which he rose that morning. Krishna asked his mother to tell him a story. She told him the story of Dhruv, which Krishna, especially when Narad advised the little boy, that, and then gradually Krishna felt, which Krishna really liked, especially when Narad advised the little boy. And then gradually Krishna fell asleep. For 3 days, Yashoda Mai remained in her chambers, afraid to appear before the king. At the start of breakfast on the 4th day, Nanda Baba requested his son,
"My boy, your mother is sulking and has thus deprived us of our excellent services. Please go to her, and only in the way that you know how. Ask her to once again grace us with her presence. We miss her terribly."
Krishna immediately went to fetch Yashoda Mai, and soon after he emerged with her. Yashoda Mai's face was flushed with embarrassment, but Nanda Baba did not say anything negative to her, concluding that her pain in days of exile was sufficient punishment. He said,
"O goddess, whose glory is sung throughout this land and beyond, O you who are maternal affection personified, although we have eaten excellent preparations the last 3 days, without touch of your lotus hand, even the best food has not satisfied us. No matter what Rohini Devi cooks, your whimsical son will not eat because it has not been served by you. Please save him from wasting away and thus save us all who live only for him.
Yashodamai's eyes welled with tears, her heart flooded with bliss, and symptoms of ecstasy danced in every limb of her body. Yashoda Mai ki jai, Yashoda Damodara ki jai. In the days following the reconciliation of this divine family, the Brijabasis continued to give moral support to both Queen and her darling son. The ladies hungered to help heal the wounds caused to both Yashodamai and Krishna from recent events. They were like honeybees attracted to Krishna and the irresistible sweetness. His smile, features, speech, everything indescribably attractive to the senses, mind, and heart. Everything that he was or did was a novel intoxicant, and every moment with Krishna was a festival of indescribable joy. And just as he had completely mesmerized the Brijabasis, Krishna was completely mesmerized by them. Yashoda Damodara ki jai. So that concludes the pastimes of Mother Yashoda with Shri Krishna Damodara Leela. Any comments, any questions, please?
Really enjoyed it. That's my comment. Oh, it's really beautiful the way you said it.
The way
Really
the
nice.
pastime is.
It was very nice because in the end they both, like Krishna was a little bit stubborn, but in the end they had to give up and they came together, which was very nice. A little bit tearful. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for it.
Lala played up. Lala playing up like anything here.
Yeah, it's just
Mischief maker, and poor Yashoda Mai was suffering because of him. Oh,
and she didn't even eat.
no, bless her. Excellent.
Everybody was telling, please go to your mother, but said no. Like in Gujarati we say jiddi. I don't know others know. Jiddi means like stubborn. It's really nice, very nice. In your ending was very nice. Thank you.
Dan Baba very diplomatic, isn't it? Very clever. Amazingly. He such out the situation extremely well. And we have to learn from him that when somebody is done something, we don't reprimand them, isn't it? We know the situation first. And then he didn't say anything to anybody. That's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Yes, very good points. Very good comments. Thank you. Okay, Yashoda Damodara ki jai, Radha Damodara ki jai, Kartik Mas ki jai.